Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here for Friday, February 14th. Before we get into today's play of the day, a quick recap of what happened yesterday. We ended up picking up a loss with the Pelicans -3, which was available on FanDuel at -110. Line ended up going up to 4 in most spots by opening tip, and unfortunately, the Pelicans ended up losing outright. There's a couple of times, you ever get that feeling where you're watching a game and you see a play happen, and there's at least a half left or so, but you see a play in the first half, and you just realize that your play is not meant to be? Well, Steven Adams decided to hit a running, it was a football pass, basically, from about 70 feet, and he absolutely just drilled it. And as soon as you see Steven Adams make a buzzer beater like that from 70 feet out to end the first half, I think everyone pretty much knew that the bet was not going to work itself out. Game was very close. Zion was unstoppable like I thought he would. Kind of wish I gave out his player prop instead. But either or, Pelicans couldn't get enough stops, and Gallinari also had a great game, and the Thunder got the season sweep of the Pelicans. But we'll look for a bounce-back spot win here in the spot on Friday. However, for today's betting card, really not much to talk about because of the fact that you have All-Star Weekend, so you have the Rising Stars Challenge going on tonight, and I'm not betting on an exhibition game. And then in college basketball, you have the Horizon and the Ivy Leagues playing, and I'm not really a fan of any of the lines there. So instead, for a play that are going to be looking at a look-ahead line here for Saturday, and it will be on the XFL, as there's going to be a matchup that I find some value with, and I think everybody pretty much was surprised by how the XFL performed in Week 1, and I'm looking forward to watching some games in Week 2. So, without further ado, we're going to dive right into it, and we'll be on a matchup between the Dallas Renegades and the Los Angeles Wildcats, and that game will be taking place on Saturday at 3 p.m., and the play of the day will be on the Renegades -4 on the road, and that line is available at -110 on FanDuel, and that will be the play of the day. Now, a couple of reasons why I like the Renegades in the spot. First of all, both teams started the year 0-1, but the Renegades definitely looked a lot better than the Wildcats did, as the Renegades lost by 6 points to the Battlehawks, whereas the Wildcats ended up losing by 20 points to the Roughnecks. But there's also been some issues with the Wildcats during the course of the week. A lot of drama going on with that organization, as they became the first team in XFL history, the new XFL history, to fire their coordinator already, and they're only through Week 1. The Wildcats gave up 37 points to the Roughnecks in Week 1 and decided it was time to get rid of the coordinator that's been working with this defense for the last couple of months. As an overreaction, I think it is, but either or, I don't expect their defense to suddenly play a lot better after getting rid of their coordinator after 1 week. Plus, they also got rid of their outside linebacker and team captain, Anthony Johnson, after Week 1. So they got rid of arguably their best defensive player and their defensive coordinator, and I'm supposed to believe that their defense is suddenly going to improve. Doesn't really seem that likely to me. Now, both teams will be most likely getting action from their original starting quarterback. Both teams ended up having to use backups in Week 1, as the Renegades were missing Landry Jones with a knee injury, and the Wildcats were missing Josh Johnson with a thigh injury. However, Landry Jones has already been confirmed that he will be starting in this game, so there is absolutely no injury issues whatsoever to speak of for the Renegades. Meanwhile, the Wildcats, for last week, when Johnson was not able to play, they had to use backup Chad Kanoff. Kanoff has not practiced all week, and he is doubtful for this game, and Josh Johnson is, right now, he was limited in practice all week, so he's most likely going to play. However, considering the fact that he's a very mobile quarterback, you have to wonder how much that thigh injury will impact his mobility, as that's one of the strongest parts of his game. Plus, if Johnson is not at 100% and he ends up getting injured, Kanoff might not play, which means that the Wildcats might have to use a third-string quarterback at some point if Johnson cannot stay healthy for the entire game. But the issues that I have with the Wildcats are just based on the fact that their defense is awful. They got rid of their coordinator and their best defensive player. I don't really think that's going to do much. Meanwhile, the Renegades' offense, even though they only scored 9 points in Week 1, a lot of that had to do with the fact that their starting quarterback, Philip Nelson, just did not he just didn't throw the ball down the field at any point in that game. His completion percentage was very solid, as he ended up completing 33 of 42 pass attempts, but he only had 209 passing yards, so he basically just threw dump offs the entire time like Trubisky. I expect to see Landry Jones take more shots, and I think the Renegades' offense will look a lot better in Week 2, but so I think they should be able to put up around 28 points or so in this game. I would lean to the over as well, but I'm still not sure how healthy Johnson is going to be, so I might pass on that personally. But even if Johnson does play, I still think Landry Jones who is one of the more high-profile quarterbacks in this league. I think he will play well. I think the Renegades have the superior defense, so I think that there is value here with the Renegades at -4. It's already up to 4.5 on Fox Bet and some other books, so I expect this line to continue climbing. But the play of the day, once again, will be on the Dallas Renegades -4, and that line is available at -110 on FanDuel, and that will be the play of the day. Now, looking at some of the leans on today's card, not going to be many, as I said before. Card today, very underwhelming, but for my leans, the first line I'll give out is Yale -3.5 against Princeton. Both teams are tied for first place in the Ivy, but Yale is 17-5 and Princeton is 10-9. So Yale's been the much better team so far this season. Plus, Yale is just such a better rebounding team that I think Princeton, in order to actually cover the spread or even win the game, they will need to shoot borderline lights out from the floor. I think Yale, in my opinion, is the most talented team in the entire Ivy, and they should be able to make it back to the NCAA tournament. So for me, lean to Yale here. They've been very solid on the road this season. I think they should be able to get the job done. So lean to Yale. Other than that, what else do I like? I'm going to lean to the over 150.5 between Denver and South Dakota State. Main reasons why, a lot of movement on the over. It's gone from 148.5 to 151.5. Denver likes to play a pretty fast-paced game, and they play virtually no defense, so I think South Dakota, after scoring 80 points on the road in the first meeting, should potentially break 85 or so in this game, and I think you should see a pretty high-scoring effort from the Jackrabbits. Lean to the over there. I think that game will be pretty high-scoring. Other than that, though, that's pretty much it for my thoughts on the card. I'll give out another video sometime tonight after I finish all my articles, because of the fact that there's going to be a lot of college basketball games on tomorrow. But the play that I once again will be on the Renegades -4, which is available on FanDuel at -110 in the XFL. And other than that, good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.